Welcome to the Daily Decameron, Tales to Connect Us in Troubled Times. Episode 3, A Leg to Stand On. Today, the short, sweet tale of Chichibio, the Venetian cook of a Florentine noble, and the quick retort that transforms his master's anger into laughter. Birds are everywhere in this tale, from falcons and cranes to Chichibio's own name, a Venetian word for the sound of a songbird, not unlike the English word cock-a-doodle-doo. And indeed, Boccaccio has Chichibio sing some of his dialogue. Why? A proud speaker of Florentine dialect, Boccaccio was parodying what any Florentine would have thought of as the sing-song cadence of the Veneto dialect of rival Venice. But although he paints Chichibio as a simple-minded bird brain, Boccaccio's genius was in turning one-dimensional stock characters into surprising real people. And here, in the end, the foolish Chichibio gets the last word. But perhaps it's neither the servant nor the master who wins the day in this tale. Here, as in so much of the Decameron, it's the word itself, the power of speech to transcend the boundaries of social classes and conventions. The tale is set in the Tuscan town of Peretola, a name that might sound familiar to you if you've traveled in Italy. A northern suburb of Florence, Peretola, once a prime spot for bird hunting and falconing, is now the site of the Florence airport. Sesta giornata, novella quarta. Chichibio e la gru. The sixth day, the fourth novella, Chichibio and the crane. Corrado Gianfigliazzi, as you may know, is a noble citizen of Florence, a model of munificence, who enjoys a life of gentlemanly chivalry in the constant company of hounds and hawks. One day, on a falconing expedition near the town of Peretola, he caught a crane, and, finding it young and plump, dispatched it to his cook, a Venetian named Chichibio, asking that he take special care in preparing it for a banquet he was hosting that night. Chichibio plucked the bird and set it over the embers to roast slowly under his watchful eye. But as it reached golden brown perfection, filling the kitchen with its intoxicating aroma, a young neighbor woman, Brunetta, with whom Chichibio happened to be madly in love, came strolling into the kitchen. Seeing and smelling the roasted bird, she begged Chichibio to cut off one of its legs and give it to her to gnaw on. Chichibio shook his head and chanted, "You'll get no meat from me, Brunetta. You'll get no meat from me." "I'll tell you what," she answered. "If I get no meat from you, Chichibio, you'll get no love from me." Well, to make a long story short, Chichibio lopped off a leg from the bird and gave it to the woman he loved. That night, the succulent, if one-legged, bird was presented with great ceremony to Corrado and his guests. Observing its obvious asymmetry, Corrado sent at once for the cook, demanding he explain what had become of the missing leg. Without a moment's hesitation, the mendacious Venetian answered, But cranes, as my lord surely knows, have but one leg." "Who the devil do you think you're talking to?" Corrado bellowed. "Do you think I've never seen a crane?" But Chichibio persisted. "It is the truth, my lord, and if it please you, I will show you on a live specimen." Not wanting to make a scene in front of his guests, Corrado replied, "You may show me tomorrow morning, but if you fail to convince me, I swear by the body of Christ I'll teach you a lesson you'll remember as long as you live." Early the next morning, Corrado saddled his steed and set Chichibio on an old nag beside him, and off they rode to a riverbank, where Corrado knew cranes could always be found at dawn. "We will soon see which one of us was lying last night," he said. Chichibio rode beside his master, desperately looking this way and that for a way to escape his predicament. And as they approached the river, what do you suppose he saw? A dozen cranes, all standing on one foot, as cranes are wont to do when they're sleeping. You see, sir, he said, I was telling the truth. Cranes really do have only one leg. Not so fast, said Currado. I'll show you who's telling the truth. And with that, he shouted, Ho ho! Waking the cranes, who hopped onto 2 feet and flew away. So, you gluttonous, poultry-pilfering rascal, now do you admit that cranes have 2 legs? Yes, sir, but, stammered Chichibio, beside himself with terror. And then, from out of the blue, a thought came to him, and he blurted it out. But last night, you didn't shout, Ho ho, at the crane I served you. If you had, it would have stuck out its other leg. Currado was so pleased with this reply that his anger turned to laughter. Right you are, Chichibio, he said. That's just what I should have done. And so, with a quick and amusing reply, Chichibio saved himself from misfortune and returned to the good graces of his master. Thanks for listening to The Daily Decameron, a production of the Italian Cultural Institute of San Francisco. Anna Maria Di Giorgio, director. This program was produced by Franca Cavallaro and edited by Enrica Cavalli, with music performed by John Sayles. I'm your host and translator, Steve Siegelman. We hope you'll join us for more episodes in both English and Italian. Meanwhile, stay well, stay in touch, and share your favorite stories with the people you love.